Ever heard of Nightmare? Like a lot of games in the 90s, it came with a VHS, which you timed with your play. The character on the video would give you instructions on what to do while you played the game in real time. Being a scaredy cat, I refused to play it when my mum bought it for us. My brother was disappointed about not being able to play Nightmare, but my mum had a solution. She brought out Rap Rat. It was a cheap, dingy little thing, catered to kids my age. You went around the board, collected cheese, and the first player to reach the end would win. It seemed simple enough, and since it reminded us of Mousetrap, which we didn't have, there were no objections. We popped the movie into the VHS and set up the board. The first part of the video was just a simple explanation of the rules, as well as instructions on how the game worked. Then, Rap Rat came onto my TV.
Busted! Sprung-a-mundo! Hello, 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 hello. Glad you can make it. Welcome to my show!
The Rat's ready!
Rap Rat's the name, the video board game.
Rap. Rapping, I'm here to say rap.
He was not what any of us had been expecting. My smaller brother, who was only 3 at the time, immediately left the room while crying. The rat did not even resemble a rat. The ears were far too big. It had a mouth lined with 2 teeth, and the inside of the mouth looked almost swollen. The most striking part about the thing was the eyes. They were large, glossy, and fish-like. I asked, then bothered, then begged my mum to turn it off. Rap Rat suddenly shouted loudly, screaming and wailing, saying,
Wait your turn.
in a demonic, low-pitched voice that was not like his normal obnoxious nasally voice. In the background, we could hear the narrator saying, "He's Rap Rat," and "He's the boss," over and over again, in an overly serious tone. The video was indescribable. Images crossed the screen in quick succession, overcut with Rap Rat's expressionless eyes. The images were some of the things I was afraid of at the time. A person looking over a balcony, a hornet slowly stinging someone's eye, an extreme close-up of a tarantula, a pit full of writhing cobras, and bloodied syringe filled with green fluid. We immediately turned the video off, and I ran out of the room screaming, slamming my door. It took my mum 20 minutes to convince me that the video was gone, and I would never ever see it again. I had nightmares about Rap Rat all week. That wasn't the last time I saw Rap Rat. While my girlfriend and I were preparing to move in together, I was cleaning out the closet of my room, and I found Rap Rat again, with the same VHS and the same board game inside. It was almost perfectly intact, save for the thick layers of cobwebs and dust bunnies on top of it. This was strange. Didn't my mother get rid of it? And what was the game doing in my room? I let out a bit of a gasp when I found it, and my girlfriend came into the room asking what was the matter. Breathing harshly, I said, "Rap, Rat." She laughed a bit, asking if it was a joke. I shook my head, explaining that it wasn't. She didn't believe me. Nobody did. And I decided that the only way to prove it to her was to show her the video. I borrowed my next-door neighbour's VHS and played the video for her. However, the images had changed. I saw a clown, its nose bursting and spraying blood onto the screen. I saw a woman alone in a dark room. I saw a man being forced to pick up a white-hot metal and hold it in his outstretched hand, turning his hand into a leathery mess. The scratching I heard as a child continued, picking up louder and louder. Then, Rap Rat showed up and begun twisting and convulsing, its arms thrusting this way and that. The costume wasn't a costume anymore. The felt was real fur. Its face wasn't plastic, but instead a bristle of thorns with teeth. The eyes turned inwards and suddenly popped out again. Rap Rat's huge fish eyes were inside out, staring right at me, watching my every move, my every expression. It grinned widely and gestured at my girlfriend and I with a single, outstretched inhuman hand. I could hear the faintest scratching at my front door. The TV went blank and showed static. The scratching got louder. It wasn't scratching anymore, but thumping. The thumping of tiny feet on wood. My girlfriend embraced me in fear, and my senses kicked in. Before anything else could happen, I stopped the video, ejected it, and unplugged the VHS. The scratching stopped. When I looked out the living room window, nothing was there. The police showed up soon afterwards, warning us that a neighbour had seen a figure outside of our door and called in concern. My girlfriend and I simply couldn't explain what had happened and had to tell the police officer that it was us. I was furious that a children's game was terrifying me. I went to pick up the tape, but the VHS burned my hand. It felt like I had touched a Bunsen burner on the highest setting. We had to get the oven mitts from the kitchen in order to take it out, and even then it was scorching hot. I brought it outside, tossed it down on the sidewalk, and crushed it with my winter boots. My girlfriend and I had nightmares every night. We would both wake up in the middle of the night and describe eerily similar images.
Long live the king.
That we saw in our sleep. The scratching would always be at night, when the lights were off and the room was pitch black, save for the moonlight coming in through the window. Now though, the scratching would happen every time I went near the front door, and every time we said Rap Rat's name. It sounded as if something, small, was dragging something across the floor, outside of the door, pacing and waiting. I would simply wait with the covers pulled up to my neck until I succumbed to exhaustion. At this point, I was determined to sue the company for damages. The first thing I did was call my mother and ask where she got Rap Rats. She had no idea. I found a merchant who sold versions of Rap Rat, and asking how I could get in touch with the company, he sent me this email. I don't know about the game, but I know it was created by the same people who created Nightmare. The company is called A Couple of Cowboys. Try them. I did a bit more research, and I discovered that the company became defunct in 1994, only 2 years after the company had created Rap Rat. I discovered why they did, soon afterwards. How Rap Rat came to be. In 1992, the year of the game's development, a couple of cowboys had commissioned a manufacturing company in Haiti to create the doll portrayed in the game. The company who created the puppet ran a sweatshop where they forced women and children to produce the various components of the puppet, including the felt and plastic of the doll. One day, a young Haiti girl got her arm caught in the industrial sewing machine. The spring loader, unable to handle the weight on the machine, came loose and struck the child's neck, killing her instantly. A few days after the funeral, the mother of the child came to the factory, demanding to see the owner, who denied that he had anything to do with it. In a fit of rage, the mother said that the blood from the innocent would seep into every crevice of this doll, every component with which it was created, and all who touched it would die. She claimed to have summoned a fear demon, and screamed at the top of her lungs, "Apparat will curse you!" The owner simply laughed, and told his corporate bosses about Apparat. They spread the joke from person to person, and the game was renamed Rap Rat, a loose anagram of Apparat. Each recitation of the name Apparat brought with it a greater and greater curse. Only 2 years after Rap Rat was created, the company was shut down and the owners were hired by Mattel. There were stories of the workers begging for days off, skipping work for weeks and weeks, finding the puppet in strange places. Sooner were the stories of suicides, grim, violent suicides in which the workers would stab their hands and burn themselves to death, writing, "I am fear," on the nearest surface in blood. Nobody knows where the Rap Rat doll went after the original creators disappeared. Some say that the last things the victims ever saw before going insane were large, sunken fish-like eyes. Words of warning. Never, ever say Apparat out loud. Saying a demon's name out loud is an invitation to them, a calling. If you have already done this, it cannot be undone. Do not try to speak or contact Apparat. Avoid being awake between 3:30 AM and 4 AM, when Rap Rat is the most likely to try and scare you. The VHS is back. I thought I stomped on it, smashed it to Kingdom Come, but it's back. I found it in my sock drawer yesterday. This time, I was ready. A whole bunch of people had been contacting me, trying to get the tape on some sort of video from the board game. My answer to you is that it's just too dangerous if I did that. It could very well drive you insane, scare you to death. The video and the game, and Rap Rat itself, has some sort of strange power. Rap Rat follows me everywhere I go. I see little shadows in the corner, or hear sounds coming down the hallway when I'm the only one home. If Rap Rat is there, it will let you know, but it will never let you see it. Until it's too late, of course. A lot of people have been watching the normal video from the normal board game. That's the thing. Rap Rat can be normal. It will trick you into thinking it's just a puppet, and then stalk you. And that, my dogs, was Rap Rat. A creepypasta written by CanadianCowboy. I still find it to be a very fine story, even over a year later after narrating it. I pretty much stick with exactly what I said in the original narration. Rap Rat himself is a very terrifying creature. They hit the nail in the head when it comes to the design. The ears do look very terrifying, his eyes too, and especially his teeth, and his mouth does indeed look swollen oddly. It is definitely a unique creepypasta. The SpongeBob bootleg episode did kinda do something like this, but Rap Rat did go into more detail, and overall I kinda felt a little more intimidated by Rap Rat than the SpongeBob bootleg episode. Because the SpongeBob bootleg episode didn't haunt you, it wouldn't come after you and make noises, it would only slowly drive you insane and or make you extremely paranoid. Rap Rat, on the other hand, apparently has the ability to come into the real world or something, and just stalk you forever. Despite all the positives I am saying, the story does have a fair share of flaws, primarily just the concept at the end, of Rap Rat being an actual demon, or something of the sort, being summoned for revenge after the death of a child. Call me stupid or just disagree with me, but that sounds very, very generic of a standard horror story. Kinda reminds me of Child's Play a little bit, albeit instead of a kid being avenged, it's Charles Lee Ray trying to kill all the people who messed with him, and still continue his killing spree, even inside the body of a good guy doll. But anyways, enough on Child's Play. The story is just fine, really. I don't consider it horrible. It's not mind-blowing and completely game-changing either. It's just alright. However, I can say firmly it is definitely above average when it comes to creepypastas. This doesn't rely on hyper-realistic or extreme gore. Yeah, there were mentions of blood here and there, but every single horror story has to have at least one mention of blood. I only consider blood to be a cliché when it's used over and over and over, in nauseating unnecessary detail. Thankfully this story used the blood sparingly, so there's no real issues or anything I have against it in that regard. So if I had to give the story a final rating, I'm gonna still give it a 7.5 out of 10, like in the original narration. Only this time it has gameplay, better editing, my voice doesn't sound like I inhaled helium.
It seemed simple enough, and since it reminded us of Mousetrap, which we did not have, there were no objections from us.
And overall it's just better. However, all of the videos that I'm remaking my narration of, the original ones are still on the channel. I'm probably either going to unlist them or just leave them. However, if you want to watch all of my old narrations, there is a playlist on my channel called Old Narrations and Vids, Unlisted. So if you want to see how bad my narration style was back then, or if you want a tasty dose of nostalgia or classical stuff, go click on that playlist and enjoy yourself. But anyways, this has been The Dark Author. Thank you guys for the continued support on my channel, I appreciate it all. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, hit the bell so you can stay up to date with my latest videos, and comment down below, what did you guys think of this story? Also, quickly before I end this video, I will be getting Resident Evil 8 Village sometime in the future. That is a definite guaranteed game that I will be playing. Since you guys seem to enjoy Resident Evil 7, I will play through RE8. That's all I have to say. Take care, my dorks.